No, you
Tell me
don't.
about yourself.
I am Chief
Well,
Operating Officer of MS. Well, go ahead. You
it's
ready,
starting
Kyle?
now.
We're
Fair enough.
streaming.
We're gonna
And I
fight out.
think this will be a great conversation once we're live, right? Which I believe is now. Uh, yep, we're live. It started with Mindy asking about himself.
Does anybody who's watching know anything about technology? Because we might need some help.
It's live. We're fixed. Okay, I got it taken care of. Not Wes Spencer.
This it would not be a GeekCast if we didn't have some sort of audio issues. That's now tradition. But yeah, let's get back. So let's just
Hello,
do
everyone. Welcome to a GeekCast, special edition GeekCast with a planned agenda, exact timing. Everything has been a-okay. I today am joined with my co-host Mindy, who put all this together. It's all his fault. I'm joined today with Bob. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Fine. I'm doing great.
Wes Spencer.
Yo, what's going on?
Not Wes Spencer.
Yo.
How are you? Also known as Alex, King of Trolling.
King of trolling. Worthless at anything else.
Right. So today we're going to be discussing conference things, which I absolutely love getting into the meat of this stuff because it's always fun. But before we dive too deep, my name is Kyle Spooner. I am Vice President of MSPGeek. I also, in my day job, Director of Operations at an MSP. Mindy, tell us a little bit about your stuff.
I am an MSPGeek admin, board member, whatever, blah blah, community person. I was at an MSP. I still technically am by title. For the last 13 or so many years. Was the CTO, or still am by title, the CTO of the MSP. Automation engineer, critical thinker, passionate learner. So
what do you do now?
I consult. I'm a MSP consultant. But primarily I stay in the community and I try to do things for the community.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's me.
Great. Bob?
Yeah, I don't know why Mindy didn't mention that he's a Platinum Records singer too. I mean, he's
confirmed. Do you see it?
Yeah, you see it too, right behind his head. I don't know why he didn't actually say that, but it's okay. He's modest. So
yeah.
My name is Bob Miller. I am Chief Operating Officer of MSSP in Louisiana called Global Data Systems, and I don't know. I'm a geek of 60 years of doing this kind of stuff. So, just happy to be here. Thank you, Wes, the real Wes Spencer.
You're welcome, my friend.
On that note, Wes.
This is your key. Will the real Wes Spencer please stand up? Right?
I haven't found him. He's gone into hiding after all the stunts that Alex pulls. He's a horrible person. I tried to kick him out of here, but Can't confirm.
I'm
not a mod. Yeah. But hey, I'm Wes. It's great to be with you guys. I'm a security nerd and have been in the channel since the early days of Perch, which was 2016, 17. And love MSPs, loving helping them. I've never actually worked at an MSP before, so that kind of makes me the unique dumb one here. But I come out of banking and am one of the co-founders at Empath as well. And so that's me.
Awesome. Not Wes Spencer, aka Alex. How are you?
Yeah, so Alex Farling, longtime MSP, a little bit of time as a co-founder over at Lifecycle Insights, and now I'm absolutely blessed to be Wes's co-founder at Empath Cyber, and we're doing cool things. And he puts up with all my shenanigans, and I am not Wes Spencer. In case there's any confusion.
I have to say that you missed and I don't know if you've done this, but I just picked up on something that I think you missed out while you were at LCI. Longtime MSP, first time vendor.
That is your good point. I can't even say that now. Yeah.
No, not anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's so good. Yeah. So
long time MSP, second time vendor. Yeah.
So one of the reasons why we're doing this is Empath and MSPGeek are jointly doing Rejection Con, which is a conference where the only allowed talks are talks that have been rejected by other events or situations, and which either they didn't meet the standards of that event, or maybe someone put a typo in the description and that was an immediate red flag and they didn't like that.
It sounds
Who
like
knows?
an awful specific use case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like he's familiar with, with the particular.
I can neither confirm nor deny. But of a number of reasons, and it gives chance to allow speakers who may have not presented before, who may have an invaluable talk, who just may not be really good at demonstrating inside the way people normally submit talks, because as someone who's only done it really once and who got in by the skin of his teeth and the nagging of other people to get him to talk, I didn't encourage that. It's very complicated and it like daunting to try to write something you feel someone else is going to read, right? So Wes, will you give us a little overview of the idea that spawned from this?
Yeah.
Well, before can you tell us a bit about empaths first?
Oh, yeah. We can talk about that too, I suppose.
Because MSPGeek and empath are doing this together. So like, what is empath's skin here? Like, what's
it is the elephant in the room. So yeah, go ahead.
That's right. Yes, that's right. So empath is something. So when I originally started empath about, I don't know, 8-9 months ago, it was more just like, hey, I want to help people be better at security, and I'm doing all these other things, and I've been an educator my whole life. I've actually been a formal actual educator and as a professor in a prior life, and so just helping MSPs grow.
Everything makes sense now.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Now you know.
Going.
Yeah.
That is Professor Spencer. Yeah.
There's a day, Mindy, where I will go back to being a professor again. I got out of it because the pay sucked and there's so much academic red tape. I hated it. But there'll be a day
to start a new school.
Yeah, it's the West
University
for kids who can't cyber so good and want to.
Oh my God, I'm in. I'm registering that right now.
Rejection University.
Oh, here we go.
That works too, right?
We got to be careful with that. We had to put some asterisks so we can define what that means. That might get into a little interesting applicants for those classes.
No doubt. So anyway, as empath sort of grew, empath cyber, Alex came along. He's like, Wes, you idiot. There's so much more to all of this.
Sounds like Alex.
I may have actually said those words.
You want to say what you actually said to me, though?
Nobody wants another fucking portal to log into?
Yep. And I said, you're not wrong. And then I said, I don't know how to solve this. And Alex is like, well, not only can you not solve it, let's go build a business around that failed idea.
Let's build a portal.
Alex said, hey, I know how to fix it. Let's build one 10 times bigger than you were thinking about.
That's the idea.
Alex, why don't you tell the rest of the story?
So Wes was telling me about this thing he was going to build, and miraculously I wound up kind of at the end of a journey, and I sat down with him and said, I think you're selling this thing short, because MSPs need to learn a whole lot more than how to cyber good. They need to learn how to sales good, and how to talk on the phone good, and do accounting good, and all those other things. So we decided that we really needed to teach full stack how to MSP. There really isn't a soup to nuts, start to finish place where MSPs can go collect that content today. And we feel like with the right thought leadership, and there's enough thought leaders in the space that are a little quiet, rejection con, we can find a lot of the right people to come in and teach some content and really help us teach all of the core skill sets that existed at MSP.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned like education is something that I'm really passionate about, which is ironic because I was a terrible student.
That's funny. That's me too.
There's a
I hated school. I hate school.
Hate school.
I hated it.
I'm not
I
a fan
hated
of
it then.
formalized education.
Yeah, I hated it then, and I would love to be the adult that I am now and go back and take school more seriously. Like, I feel like I missed something.
I don't know if I would take it more seriously, but I'd love to go back.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
That's very ominous sounding.
Right. I mean, I've dropped out 3 times. What's one more?
I know people.
And there's a whole talk around, like, we push kids sometimes in this formalized post-secondary education way too quick when they just need to get out and do something, like go work with their hands. I mean, that's topic for another day, but yeah.
Well, but you're not wrong. Like, I needed to learn. I wanted to be a computer programmer. I was sure of it. I was 1,000% sure. And then I sat down in a COBOL and RPG class and went, what the hell is this? This sucks. I'm out.
I mean,
Not
only-
no kidding.
I mean,
Not only do we know your
that'll
age-
beat the life out of anybody, for Christ's sakes. Cobalt
Not
and
only do we know your
RPG.
age because you said Cobalt, but also you said
Yeah.
computer programmer. Like no
Yeah.
dev on earth will call
I hear
themselves
you.
a computer programmer anymore. That's like
I hear you.
I'm a
My
dev.
mother was-
I'm an engineer.
My mother was writing code on an AS400 while I was taking courses about it. So
Wow.
I'm that
You know,
old.
Yeah.
I'm
in
the
high
old bandit
school-
empath by far.
In high school, I was allowed to take HTML.
There you go.
I
had
had
fun with
to
HTML.
I had to play hooky to take off of school so that I can sit down and learn HTML and JavaScript in like a week, so that I can come back and show off a program to someone else in a grade above me who was showing me all this cool Flash and Visual
Oh,
Basic
yeah.
programs.
Action script. That brings back some memories.
Wow.
So that's my story of learning programming, so to speak. And then I got kicked out of the computer lab for a couple weeks because you can Windows 95, you can do active desktop. And so I put a password script on a HTML file that I made the background of the desktop, and then they couldn't figure out how to get around it. And so they punished me by kicking me out of the lab for a couple weeks.
I thought that was
Yeah.
going to be a NetSend story.
I mean, I
Everybody has a NetSense story,
Yeah.
not me. Yeah.
all right. So let's talk about RejectionCon.
Oh yeah, that thing.
How did it come about? That's like, how did you decide?
Oh,
to...
I remember this.
So I'll tell you how it came about. Here I am sitting around, and I don't know if you remember, but I'm not going to pick on ConnectWise, right? Like, first of all, let's just say this. There's any conference only has so many talks, right? And when you run the hallmark marquee event of the entire channel, you're going to get hundreds of talks that come in that just there's no room, right? So let me just preface. And so a bunch of rejection emails were coming in. People were salty, right? Like, man, I've really felt like this was a great talk. And I was talking to a few MSPs. I'm like, that was a great talk. You should have gotten in. Robert Chiaffi had one. Kyle Christensen had one. And Dustin Brolander. You guys know Mr. Bolander over at Clear Gardens. You had Kyle, you had one. And so he's like, Wes, you need to like go do your own like conference for like rejected talks. And so we start talking about, I'm like, no, that's so much work. Like, that sounds terrible. We started talking, and as I'm very easy for people to sell me into stuff. Like, apparently. So we're talking and we're talking. I'm like,
take
you know
some
what,
notes.
Dustin?
Yeah.
I'm like, you're right. We should do this. He's like,
Does this
yeah,
sound
let's call it
familiar? Wes is like,
RejectionCon.
Yeah, right.
nobody wants another conference to go to. I'm in.
Right.
More
Another
bad
portal
ideas.
for the conference too.
Nobody wants
Yes.
another portal. I'm in.
Yes. So I threw a couple feelers out, and I'm like, would anyone be interested in like doing this thing? And Spooner, you were one of the first people. They're like, yeah, like this
Yeah,
is
it's a great
awesome.
idea. I love it. Let's do it.
We're in.
Yeah.
So that's how the whole thing came about. And I wanted to have a little mantra of, the rejected ones. Do you guys remember that old, none of you guys are Apple users, I guess, but there's that one old Apple commercial, here's the misfits, the square pegs and round holes. I don't know if you remember that commercial or not, but it's iconic. And I'm like, that's the vibe that I think we want here, is to just give people a voice to talk, to give, like, there's so many people, and we know this in life, the more times you get more diversity in, you get more conversation and more people have never spoken before, like that makes us all better. And so that's really what this thing is about.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I can tell you, even from MSPGeek, which is another conference, right? Nobody wants another conference. Hopefully, everybody wants MSPGeek.
They want ours. Don't disparage our own
Hopefully they all want
conference
ours.
on our own podcast thing.
Even with MSPGeek, we had a limited number of sessions. Like, bottom line is, there's only so many hours in a day.
I'll say we're over our limit now. So if we can't pick all of them and like if we're over full, like if we selected every single one, we would run out before we got to the end of the list, as it is right now.
More people for RejectionCon. That's good.
That's right.
Exactly. And that's what happened last year too. We had over, I think it was like 100 something submissions or something like that, and we only had to fill in like 18 spots, 21 maybe, but something like that.
Can RejectionCon sponsor your declination letter?
Oh, it's just a picture of RejectionCon. If you click on it, it goes to his submission book.
Unfortunately, this year or next year, MSPGeek's conference speakers are not going to get picked until the end of March.
That's okay.
That's when we're doing it. But
then we're going to need speakers for next year. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's by all
start
means.
early.
We'll make sure that
I don't know that anybody's ever sponsored a rejection letter for a conference talks. I feel like
It's a
this
good
could be-
idea.
I'm in. Like, this is a great idea. Like, hey,
It
look,
is a great idea.
I'm sorry, we can't pick
You've
you.
been rejected.
But-
check out Rejection Con.
They specialize in your kind of people.
Rejects just like you.
Oh, it's me.
But that actually brings
However,
up,
we'd still like
a
your money.
point.
Please buy a ticket to GeekCon.
Yeah.
That actually brings up an interesting point, like something that I was thinking of there, because there's always more than one side to a story, right? There's always more than one side to the coin, or perception or perspective, whatever you want to call it. On one hand, you're coming at there are people who have good talks that were not accepted, and we want to give them a platform to speak, which I think is really good. On the other hand, you're basically advertising to everybody else to come listen to a bunch of people who were not good enough to make the cut. So like now we gotta have to balance that out. What is the messaging that we want to try to like bring across, or how do we portray that other side? Because it's not that they weren't good enough to make the cut, right? It's just that there was too many.
Yeah. So here's in fact, I'll just share my screen and give you an example of this.
Let me make sure that you can do that.
Okay. That was like a big worry I had, right? Like, is anyone going to want to attend this? Because is it like the most boring talks, right? Like, let's dive into TCP/IP and let's talk about Windows.
That sounds exciting. I mean, I'm in.
Other than Mini, right?
Test it to see if it works.
So part of it is it's a bit of a leap of faith, and then part of it is I just had to trust that the community had awesome things to say, and they would say, man, I'm good. Like this. I've been wanting to submit this talk and I know it's good. And it actually turned out that way. Let me share my screen. I'm going to show you some of the talks that we have submitted. And they're really good. Like they're really good. So I don't know if you guys know Teddy over at Shield, but how to control your client's pen test, right? So like, how do you deal with, the outcome out of all of that? I'm just going to flip around to a couple of them. Megan, do you guys know Megan Killian? This one's going to be awesome. Ethical marketing for next gen MSPs. Tell me that's not awesome. By the way, tell me that's not the coolest headshot too. Like, so that's super cool.
I mean, got that going on.
Paul Robinson.
Her hair looks a little better than mine. I don't know.
Do you guys know? Yeah, just a bit. Do you guys know Paul Robinson? I don't know if you guys know Paul or not, but this is awesome, right? Like the challenge of emotional state of cybersecurity, like really, really cool. So, I mean, there's lots of these that are really good. And you start looking at them and you're like, why would I not want to hear these? I mean, they go on and on and on and on. This one looks awesome. I actually don't know Josh all that well, but I'm super excited about it. How about
He's a really good speaker, actually.
He is. He spoke at MSPGeek last year.
He was one of the people we accepted at MSPGeek. Mm-hmm. He's a thought leadership speaker. And he's really good. That's all I can say.
Makes me even happier to have him for sure. How about Dean? You guys all know Dean Trempelis, like establishing culture of real-time ticketing. I'm not smart enough to know what that means, but I'm smart enough to know Dean is ridiculously well respected.
What's the first one in that list that I see over there?
Oh, I should go pull up the old one. No. You guys give you some payback.
Oh,
this one here.
Oh, yeah.
I was saving this one.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a nice one. Who's that guy?
I think that one's going to get rejected.
Yeah,
it's the only one to get rejected.
I just got to say, like, I was not aware that this talk was going in until it was already in.
That's a lie. I told him I was going to submit it, and then I submitted it immediately. So it was before.
That's awesome.
I didn't see it until after. Yeah.
Take a look at that one. I love Adam Evans.
Good.
Yeah, Adam's good. It's going to be really good.
Adam's a good speaker too.
Some guy named Bob Miller.
Oh,
yeah, I've seen that guy before.
Yeah.
Is that the right one, Bob? I know you submitted like 3 or something, and we had to like work out what's the one.
No. That one's actually the one I really wanted to do anyway, right? Because it is not the most exciting thing. I get that, but it is absolutely one of those critical things. So,
can you do it while also teaching us how to do like a live crawfish boil? In real life?
That's actually a really good idea.
I feel like you should submit a talk about crawfish boil. My wife is from Louisiana, so she would appreciate that one for sure.
I feel like Bob should do the whole talk to music and just play his guitar while he's at it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. He's like the coolest Cajun you know.
There's not a lot of those, so that's a high mark.
There's not. Yeah.
It's really hot in Louisiana.
Last one I'll show. Yep. I don't know if anyone's ever heard Rob talk about life and legacy, but he's the best in the world at this. And I mean, I don't know. There's more talks in this, but look at that. Tell me you're not excited about that. Like those are some killer talks.
Yeah,
they were really
I
good.
stand corrected.
Yeah.
That's really good.
But I was worried about it, Mindy. I was like, this could be really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
He was definitely worried about it. Yeah.
I mean, once you look at it, like where it spawned from, right? The rejection notice. A lot of the people who were salty, as you put it, about being rejected, are good speakers, and are generally accepted in those areas, right? Me personally, I was salty I didn't get selected, but that's just because I felt like the talk I wanted to give is needed and wanted in the community, in the MSP space. However, upon rereading my description and my synopsis and whatnot, I'm like, this is horrible. Who would go here? So like I connect with having to read through my gibberish so that people can understand what I'm actually trying to teach.
You know, it'd be super cool though, is if conferences actually gave you the god honest, blunt truth of why they rejected it, your talk. Like, we didn't understand, your title sucked. We have no idea who you are. This synopsis is confusing. I would love to know the criteria sometimes on why I get rejected, because I've gotten rejected a bunch and you never get an answer why.
I would like to volunteer to write those letters.
Denied. Just
Sounds
blanket
like
deny. Blanket rejection.
Free.
I wrote the rejection letters for MSPGeek last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what I put in them.
Did you actually give reasons though, Mindy?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think he did.
Well, you tell me, since you've been on the selection criteria, why have you rejected some?
That's a really good question that I wasn't prepared to answer, but I guess I'll do it anyways. So yeah, there's a couple reasons why. There's several reasons why we would not accept the talk. Most common is that the talk is just out of the left field. It has no place with the theme or with the track we're trying to put together. And in some cases, like there was a really good talk that someone submitted last year. It was creating your digital twin.
Oh yeah, I wanted to see that, and you rejected it.
It was a really good talk. It was about like creating yourself as an AI, and so then talking to yourself and having somebody to like brainstorm, and there was a marketing thing. Like I didn't really understand exactly what the point of all of it was. They had a really good cool abstract. It sounded really good. We had no idea who the guy was, and it had no place in any of the tracks that we were trying to put together. And so we just had to pass on it.
Can you send us this guy? Because I want to hear this talk.
Right?
Yeah. Even though I went back over it like 5 or 6 times, and I even like, is there any way we can get this guy in? And it was just like we couldn't make it fit.
We fixed that problem for 2024.
That's one of the reasons why we would reject the talk. Is it just doesn't fit. There are other talks as well that were not bad, but they weren't better than others around them. And so then it comes back down to the point of like, we only have so many slots to fill. Right. And so in some, like, you never really know. Like, I can tell people, I can reject their talks and say, sorry, we ran out of slots, but are you really going to believe me? Like, you know what? No, I'm honest. I'm telling the truth. Trust me. Right. Like, what can I put in the email that'll make you believe that we just ran out of slots? There's really nothing that you can really say, because it's like, oh, it's all, if they already think that I'm not telling the truth, anything I say above that is just a way for me to prove that I'm telling the truth, even though I'm not. And
but it's not necessarily that we ran out of slots. It's that their talk was not as captivating for our audience as other ones.
Right. So that's where I say it's just like the issue is it's not that they were bad. It's just that they were not better than others, and we ran out of room to be able to get it in there. So that was the other most common thing. It's the two most popular. The biggest issue we had was we got the biggest reason why we would reject them. And honestly, those were the easiest to reject, because they didn't align with the theme that we're trying to do. And so the next thing that if all the talks align with the theme and we still have too many, that's the hardest part, because now it's all subjective. Like, okay, which talk is better? I don't know. I'm reading an abstract. I don't even know the person, right? If we're running blind selection, we have no idea who it is. We don't know like how good they are as a speaker. Like, what are the criteria we would use to identify whether or not they're actually good? And it just comes down to like, I must have run like 10 or so passes on all of the ones who fell within the criteria, and I would just instinctively vote, like whatever my first gut reaction is to reading, vote yes, no. And then I went through, did it on a scoring level. Score this talk 1 through 10, 1 through 10, 1 through 10. And then you like multiple passes over, Sessionize, the platform that we used, would allow you to basically correlate the talks based off of your scores. And you can see how many times you voted yes, how many times you voted no, what score you gave each one. And then after that, it's just simple math at that point, right? It's a weighted scale, and it is what it is. It's not that you liked one better than the other necessarily. It could be if you did it 4 more times, it would have turned out differently. It's just at some point you have to fit a certain number in, and that's really what it comes down to. So yeah, that's hopefully that sheds
It's
some light.
very complicated to select people, and I do not envy any conferences who have, like as you said earlier, several hundred submissions of talks that they have to parse through in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
So that they can arrange things. It's rough.
It is. I didn't know you had that many submissions. So you had more than 100?
No, last year I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think it was around 100 or so.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
the initial phase was 100. I think we narrowed it down to like 63 in the ones that fit in the criteria that we had to parse through again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like we didn't expect to get as many as we did.
But I'm just going to say, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Like, your conference is different, right? You guys are a strictly educational conference. You're not selling anything. I
Yeah,
think some of these other conferences, like, really good talks don't get heard because they don't go towards the message that sells a license of a thing that the vendor who's holding the conference hosts. And I think that's one of the things that frustrated me when Wes started talking about this. I was like, there's a lot of dudes who have really good talks about, and if you go look at the talks that happened this year, there weren't a lot of talks on culture and mental health and, all these, that's really tough things that we're dealing with in this industry right now. There were a lot of talks on sales process and how to buy a widget and how to sell a widget and how to do a cybersecurity thing that results in the sale of a widget. And I think that is damaging to the conference circuit as a whole.
And part of that is, for any of these conferences where you pay 25 to 40K to sponsor a talk, and there's many of them that are this way, the natural inclination is to have some amount of tie-in to some kind of sales XYZ that comes out of it, because I paid for it. There's got to be an ROI there.
An ROI.
So
Yeah.
it's a self-serving problem, and I don't know how you get out of it.
As somebody who's paid for those talks and given them, I don't know how you get out of it. You just try and deliver as much value as you can.
That's how I
make an ask at the end.
Exactly. That's how I've always gotten my way out of it, is like, I did one with CyberFox at Connect. And so I just spent the first like 35 minutes, 36 minutes. This is what Zero Trust actually is. And then the last 3 minutes, hey, here's what we do to solve it. And there's a QR code. Go grab it if you want to do this. And so I think you can do it that way. It's just a shame when you have people that come up and it's a total pitch from the beginning.
Yeah.
Most of the vendors who have reached out to sponsor have asked if we have sponsored speaking slots, and my response is the same to every single one of them. We don't want your money. We want your expertise and your knowledge that you can share, as long as you're providing educational content. We don't care if you're a vendor. We don't care if you're a consultant or an MSP. You have knowledge and skills and expertise that you can impart on the rest of the space, and that's what we want to encourage, because vendor talks themselves, if they're not sponsored, have a much less chance of getting accepted than anyone else, if I understand the conference circuit correctly. So it's been, I enjoy actually saying that, just because I can see, I don't know if I see dollar signs in the back of their eyes light up, because they're gonna like, you go back to, they're trying to get an ROI off of it, but we're very, very clear on, we understand you're a vendor. You feel free to say you're a vendor and you do this, and if you're happen to be a sponsor at the time, go visit our booth or whatever. But the majority of the talk has to be educational.
Yep.
But there's a math problem there, right? The show might cost 25 grand. It might cost 35 grand. That talk might cost 10 grand. You might get 75 or 100 scans at your booth, but you might pack 150 people in the room for a good talk, right? So there's the numbers lead the vendors to want to go give those talks, and if they get a really knockout talk, it's a success for them. That's just the reality of it.
Mhm.
That's why you see people with a little bit edgy and pithy titles, and people giving talks like how to deliver a QBR that doesn't suck, right?
I mean, I've been in those talks, and there was a room packed. I had to sit on the floor. It was utterly ridiculous.
But the point is, like, there's a reason why the vendors do it. But we have to give a voice to the other folks, because there's some other problems in this industry that are not related to those things. And I think we're getting a good mix of some of those talks.
Yep. And I hope, what I also hope this does, it's a bit of a nefarious thing to this too, that I'll say is, I had a bunch of people reach out. They're like, hey man, I don't have a talk that's been rejected, but I got one that I would love to give. And I've just never given it because I know it'll never get through. I'm like, well, what is it? I'll call Jesse Miller out. You guys know Jesse Miller?
Yeah.
So awesome VCIO. And he's like, I have this one talk I've been wanting to do about how to deconstruct your security program. He's like, and the ultimate outcome out of this is it's not anti-vendor, because vendors are involved, but it's like vendor last. It's like a vendor last approach to security. He's like, there's no conference in the land that's going to let me speak there, because I'm kind of like undermining him. Well, maybe,
right.
Yeah. Right.
Kyle, you can't take him, because he's actually, no, you can take him. Just
yeah, we can.
Because
No,
he's like,
that sounds great. I want to.
I mean, and from Jesse, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So he's like, but
have him submit 2 talks, and then we'll reject one of them.
deal. One will have a misspelling in it, is what we'll do, right?
Oh,
But
God.
anyway,
But then he has to submit it to us also with the misspelling in it.
Yes.
So that we can, yeah.
he's not the only one that's told me that. And so now what it's going to do, I hope, is give people the motivation to say, I'm going to submit a spicy talk, and there's no bad outcome, because if I get accepted in one of the big conferences, awesome. If I get rejected, now I got a landing place for rejection con. So this thing works and works well. I'm hoping we can sort of like cultivate this spirit of like, everyone has something that they want to say, and there is no too spicy. There's a place for it.
It's going to wind up being it's going to wind up being a cult classic. This conference is going. I'm just
Or a cult.
This is Bob. This is Bob's. This
Not
is
Wes
Bob's
Spencer.
premonition on this deal. It's going to be a cult classic as we kind of go through this. You watch and see.
Why do
It's
you think
interesting.
that, Bob?
I want to know, like, that's something I was wondering is if you've considered, like, because there's 2 sides to this. You've got, like you talked about the talks that have been submitted and rejected, right? Most of those talks that have been submitted and rejected have been done so by people who have given a talk before at least once, right? The reason why they're submitting is because they've either decided that they've gone over their fear and they're submitting it for the first time, or they've submitted before, they've gotten practice, and they're ready to do it again. Have you thought about, or was there a consideration of opening Rejection Con to more than just rejected talks, but also first-time speakers who are looking for that training ground, so to speak? Yeah,
Bob and I, we talked about this.
dude.
Bob, I'll let you kind of. Well, actually, Bob, why don't you answer that question, because we did talk about this.
Well, I mean, Wes, when it was the early stage, Wes had that, he was saying, well, because again, it was a brainstorming thing, and he was in the middle of trying to figure out what that structure needed to look like. And he, and I think he had genuine concerns, whereas, I'm old enough not to give a shit about that kind of stuff. And I'll go, okay, well, look, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? If we get too many, because that was the first thing. What if we get too many? And I'm going, okay, so what if we get too many? That's not really a problem. That's an opportunity. We can turn that into a follow-on sequence of talking to them during the rest of the year and build up the hype for the next time
Quarterly
around.
rejection cons.
Yeah, really,
Rejection
right?
cons.
Yeah. So I mean, that's really what we were, for me, none of that's a problem, right? I mean, what's the worst case? Somebody gets on there, is new, and is not really great at it. Well, they'll get better. But is there something in there that's got some redeeming value to it? Well, that's what I loved about the idea, right? It's completely, irreverent. It doesn't, it's a nonconformist view of how to approach this. And that's what's going to resonate with people in my mind. And that's why from the beginning, I love Wes, and I hated him for it, because he came up with an idea that I wish to God I'd come up with, because it's brilliant.
I said the same exact thing when I saw his post. And I jumped on that. I'm like, I hate you so much.
Well, it was really Brolander that was the creator of the whole thing.
We're not going to give him credit for anything, though.
You shouldn't, because we all know what happens when you do that.
Yeah, we give him a shit. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you bring up new talks, because that's one of our things that MSPGeekCon's trying to do, is to foster those new talks, because standing in front of a stage, or even like doing this, can be difficult enough, because you don't know how many people watching. You don't know like the feedback you're going to get. You're nervous. You're worried. I've been drinking since we started, so I can relax a little bit.
I
but
can tell
it's-
you, you should ask Marnie about my first stage presentation, my first breakout session as a vendor.
Yeah, I will. I want to follow up with that because
My
I
first breakout
also
session as
really
an
had a
event
bad
vendor.
one.
My first breakout, it actually went swimmingly well, but I was scared to death. I mean, I made her practice that with me over and over and over to the point where I was ruining it because I knew every word. And if I missed something, I was overcorrecting for it. Like probably looked like one of these guys that wants a teleprompter for the whole thing. And, but then come the day of the talk, we're in the room getting mic'd up, like things are getting ready to get started. And, a couple of our friends come in early, like John Hammond shows up and is there to support us. And Slagle comes walking in and is there to support us. And it's still like 15 minutes before the talk and almost all the seats are full.
Mm-hmm.
And Slagle comes up to me and goes, I'm going to leave because somebody else is going to want this chair. And I know where to find you if I need anything.
Yep.
He left and I went, holy crap, this is real. And I mean, my palms are sweaty and I don't get nervous very often. I am a class clown and totally okay. But like we had just started a company. There was money on the line here. Right. And I had business partners that were depending on us to knock this out of the park. So darned if we didn't wind up with a room that was supposed to seat 100. They scanned 185 people at the door. It was standing room only. I mean, literally from corner to corner, all the way around. And I mean, the minute I got into the groove, I felt fine and everything went good. But my God, I thought I was going to have a panic attack.
Yeah.
So
it
was absolutely petrifying. So I understand why people who are introverted want to do it.
I think we're trying to get 4 brand new speakers. I think that's our goal.
That's awesome.
Mindy, is that correct? Don't correct me if I'm wrong. 4 is the number.
I don't know. I think you just
Okay.
made it up.
I did not make it up. It was repeated somewhere
on the internet now. It's fact.
Now it's fact.
Sure.
Yeah. But like we're willing to work with you. We're partnering with people who have spoken before and have experience in doing this. We want to encourage that because it goes back to there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of expertise, and people are worried to give it in a classroom type situation. And I understand that. And we want to foster that as much. So I would love for new speakers to apply to MSPGeek Con so that we can reject you for Rejection Con.
So for me, there's another side to the new speaker thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about people having knowledge that they can give out that they don't have the ability to give over. Because, my opinion, nobody really knows anything. Everyone doesn't know what they're talking about and everyone's stupid. But a classic form of learning is through teaching, right? And so my passion's always been education. I'm always going to say that right now until I get sick of it. But if I can get someone who has never given a talk before to talk about something, they themselves learn it better, right? That's basically how it works. So that's the other side of it. Like, even if you never thought about giving a talk before in your life, you don't think you have anything worthwhile to share, it's not about that. You probably do have something worthwhile to share. You can go and create a talk, give a session. If you have some form of idea, but it's not actually like formalized, just submit it. It doesn't make a difference. The joke I always tell everybody is everyone comes to me, I get questions all the time. Should I submit this talk? Here's what it's about. And I go, yes, you should. Worst case scenario. Oh no, I say, don't worry, we're not going to pick you anyways. Just go ahead and submit it. And then maybe I will pick them because I just need them to get past that line of being scared,
Mm-hmm.
And then we go look and say, actually it's a good talk. But
and then they panic on stage.
And then they panic on stage. But the good, like the program that Kyle was talking about is we actually are asking presenters as they submit sessions, like, do you want to be paired with a coach? Or do you want to be a coach?
That's a good idea, right?
And then we can start picking people who have offered to be coaches and people who want to be coached. And we match them up and say, okay, you can help them. And the coach is there to help them build their presentation, help them, coach them through the practice sessions. When it comes down to it, they got to get up on stage and do it themselves. Not when I say stage, for the most part, it's just the breakout sessions, not main stage. We're not going to stick you on a main stage in front of 500 people and say, go ahead and talk without a coach. Not yet.
So let me ask you this, Wes, as the mastermind behind this whole Rejection Con thing, and the only person whose sole idea it was,
Clearly,
but it's different from standard conferences in a number of ways. It is not in person. It is virtual only. Can you explain the setup you're planning on for the actual event, which is when?
Yep. So it's December 12, 13, and 14. And it's only in the afternoons. I stole this one from my friend Andrew Morgan. When we first did that V CyberCon way before, when the pandemic was just kicking in, it was us and Huntress and maybe one or two other vendors. Anyway, we just did, let's just do a few afternoon sessions on like 3 days in a row. That way you're not going to lose your day. You know, you can still get things done. It works for both East and West Coast. And, you know, so that was the idea behind it. And the way it works, it's all in, when you go to rejectioncon.com, you click to register, it'll take you to Crowdcast. So it's all in Crowdcast. And so when you click into it, we'll have multiple different breakout sessions. So Crowdcast lets you under like one major event. You can have multiple like breakouts going at the same time. And the other thing that's cool too, and I wanted to talk about this, John Strand taught me this one. And in fact, Black Hills is now a sponsor. And one of the reasons where they saw us talking about it, and they saw the pay what you can model. You guys all know John's been really big on the whole, like pay what you can, do what you can. If you can't afford this, then you're still in, right? And even though all of the conference pass revenue goes to charity, which we'll talk about that in a minute too, I'm like, we should keep anybody out of this thing, right? So the cool thing is Crowdcast supports a pay what you can model. So you go right in, it starts at 0, and I recommend people pay 50 is my recommendation. But there's some people that should be paying more, right? Like if you're, I don't know, if you're somebody that's exited a company, Alex, you know, maybe you could pay a little bit more than $50,
like $53 at least.
Maybe maybe 50 and tree fitty, something like that. So yeah, that's how it's all.
I heard I had to work on this conference for free.
That's because
you
didn't pay for it.
How much, right.
It doesn't mean you get into
slave
it
driving
free.
going on here.
It doesn't mean you get into it free.
You also can't attend to free. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't mean you get in for free.
I do want to say though, the kudos to the Black Hills guys, right? Because they went, hey, these bums ripped off our billing model and stole it. We love that so much, we're going to sponsor it.
Yeah.
Like, you got to give him some
John
props.
is a fantastic guy.
I love John. John's great.
I'm a huge fan of John Strand. Yeah. He is behind the scenes as he is in front of the scenes. You know, he's just a great dude. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're giving to charity, and I understand that you can't give a person like Alex to charity. So you want to explain?
Tried. Yeah,
I am a charity.
Not anymore.
That's what my mother said.
Did they reject him?
They rejected. Yeah. Now you can go. Now you can submit a session. You can submit to be rejection con.
I promise you, I've had plenty of rejected talks. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say most of the time.
That's awesome. What was the question?
Talk about
charity.
The
charity that's attached to this.
So I went to college with a friend of mine named Chris Sanders, and he's been a SANS instructor. He runs chrissanders.org, which is his own like training company. So he does a ton of stuff in like incident response training and like packet analysis and blue team, red team stuff. And many people know Chris Sanders. He's a ton of his courses. People take his courses, all this stuff. He's written a bunch of books. Like he's a legit security guy. And so I remember a few years back, he and I both come from Western Kentucky. He comes from even more Western than me. And like you get to the very far edges of Kentucky, the very far eastern side is all coal country. It's desolate. And then the very west side, which is where we're from, it's all what we call river country. And there's literally nothing there. There is nothing there. There are no cities. There's no jobs. There's no enterprise. There is nothing. There used to be some barge traffic kind of companies, but all that just evaporated. And so we both come from these communities where there's nothing around you. And he and I have talked many times about like, can you believe that we're both in like this cyber world and we're doing like this, like we're making good money and we're supporting our families, and we know people back from high school that are still working in a rubber plant, you know? And it's kind of cool just to think like that's what cyber can do, and not just cyber. That's what the technology world can do. It can like revolutionize and radicalize your own family, your own standard of living. And now we live in this world that's all, you know, work from home, so you can do this from wherever you go. And the sad part is that kids just don't know this. Like kids growing up think the only thing I can do is go work in a factory because that's what my dad did, and that's what my dad's dad did. And the poor schools, you know, especially in these rural counties, they don't have STEM. They don't have, like, they might have a little bit from state funding, but it's not much. And they have no exposure to the world around them. They have no idea all the cool jobs that are out there. They have no idea they can just go pick up, Python right now and start learning. They just don't know. And so Chris started this thing called Rural Tech Fund a while back. And man, it's awesome. They've given hundreds of thousands of dollars to, it's not just rural, it's now they do inner city as well. But it started rural. And so they've given back to all 50 states. They've given back to, then what they do is they just go into school systems and they invest and they pour in resources for things like computer labs or drones or Arduino kits or whatever. And you should go to the website. It's the coolest thing ever, just to see all the stuff that they're doing and giving back. So I'm like, you know what? Just to be transparent, when vendors sponsor, that does go to us just to run the cost of this thing, but 100% of conference passes all goes to Rural Tech Fund. In fact, it's their Stripe that we set up. So it just 100% passes through to them. So my point is, I'm being long-winded. I'm really passionate about them, and I'm passionate about what they're doing, because like we can actually make the world around us better, and we can improve the livelihood of families through this just by giving kids the chance to understand, like, I can do something greater than I ever realized. And that to me gives me meaning. That gives me excitement. Like, I think that's that we should be doing better with our resources and time and ability. And that's what Rural Tech Fund's about.
That is absolutely amazing, especially coming from my background is South Georgia, also rural. I wouldn't necessarily say we don't have any technology, but like I look at the stuff that is available today. Like my kid is taking robotics, like he's combating other robots, and I'm like, I would have murdered people to be able to do that in high school. Yep. And it's just like the stuff that kids can do these days, and our education system would love to have some additional resources, and doing stuff like this for those who don't always get those resources is absolutely phenomenal.
Yep. And look at this, 800 schools, 150,000 plus students, all 50 states. I mean, it's super cool. Like we can all stand behind this. And I want to see the MSP community, not just Rural Tech Fund. I want to see us get in front of others. I want to see us, do more and more and more of this. And, one of the folks that really kind of kicked this into my thinking was when we did you all did the beard shave, right? When Matt and Slagle, and I don't know who the actual architects that whole thing was, but that was the one that taught me, like,
I think it was Ian Richardson.
That taught me.
It was actually Kerry that started it all, because Kerry asked Matt how much to get him to shave his beard.
Ooh.
And he said it's not for sale. And she said, what about for charity?
Oh, you get him right in the.
And he went, well, I can't be that big of a dick.
That's exactly
be a big
what
number,
said.
right? And then so we said we would raise 100,000, and we wound up raising 202,000.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. It is incredible. So yeah, that's what I want to see happen. And I want to see other people carry that torch of like bragging about, I'm proud that I did this. And so if you're listening today, one thing I'll let you know, that's why I'm asking people to put some money into attending, even though it's free. And if you're an MSP owner and you're listening to this today, the other thing we did, if you go to Rejection Con, you'll see this when you sign in. I also created like an MSP pass, and it's $500. And the idea behind that is that just lets all of your employees in for free. So if you're an MSP owner and you're looking to do a tax write-off to a 501c3, dude, go do the $500 pass, get all your folks in there. Like, it costs you basically nothing, not for a rich boy MSP that's listening today. So go and do that, and then go brag about it, right? And go tell your MSP peer groups, look what we did, because it's all going to charity. So you can feel really good about the spend.
Yeah.
And you might actually enable some kid that comes to work for you one day.
Yeah. How cool would that be?
That'd be cool.
That would be absolutely amazing.
Can you pay more than $500?
Totally.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
We will allow it.
I guess that's fine, Mindy.
Fine.
Yeah, that's really good. I really like the drive behind charity. I'm involved in obviously MSPGeek is a nonprofit organization, but
don't give us money right now. We don't need it. Give it to Tech Fund. Give it to the Tech Fund.
IT Disaster Recovery Center. They're a nonprofit organization that runs. They started off within the U.S. They now are global for the most part. And their entire point, they are formed similarly to FEMA, but they're called in whenever there's some sort of disaster happening, hurricane, or even non-natural disasters. And they have technical equipment, they've got technical resources, and they're basically dispatching people all over the U.S. in order to help cyber attacks that are going on. There was a couple states that had entire, the city was ransomed, and they dispatched people on site with equipment to set up a new network, get them up and running. And so it's something that, I feel like, sure, I can do IT stuff all day long, and if I can do it and give back, then by all means I will. So yeah, I love the give to charity and help people, help the world improve overall.
That's one of the reasons why MSPGeek was formed as a 501c3. It's not the only reason, but it is absolutely one of the primary motivators, was to be able to give back in a sense, and to make sure that what kept becoming statements of that we had a very valuable community, and protect that to make sure that it couldn't be abused by anyone, including ourselves. And so that is absolutely amazing. How many talks do you guys have so far submitted?
There are, if you go to in fact, let's just go there real quick. So I'll show people how this works. So it's rejects.canny.io. We're just using Canny. Many of you guys have used that before for like voting boards and things like that. Bob is actually the one that got this set up. So it shows 33. So yeah, if you go in here, you'll see all the different talks that exist that have been popped in here, and some really, really, really good ones. There's a couple I actually have to remove because one person submitted and didn't read that it was like, oh, this talk hasn't been rejected. So there's one or two I got to clean up. But yeah, they're all right here. And this is where I want people to go and vote for them. And let me just say this. It's okay. Like, anyone who gets even one, the voting is just for the fun of it. So if you don't get voted for, that doesn't mean like you're not going to get into the whole thing. It just means that we'll probably table you for a future event, right? So the voting is really just for the fun and to help us prioritize.
I will say I did not see that you had voted for our talk, so I'm very sad about that discussion.
Let's go fix that. Where are you?
I'm not sad about
you stop talking, Mindy.
Wait, no, I did vote for you. You're in red.
Okay, good.
For you.
I missed it when I was doing it. Never mind. I take back my sadness.
But there are some that I haven't voted for, so I'm gonna go vote for all of them right now because I'm just.
Well, no, that's.
How does that, Matt? Like, going back to the math problem that Alex was talking about before, but in a different kind of math problem. How does voting for all of them help? You're just equalizing the number across.
Because everyone's a snowflake to
me. It makes you
I'll
feel good, Mindy. If you go in there and there's a 1 and now there's a 2, someone wants to listen to you, and that is motivation, and very important in mental health.
That's right.
Someone's
mean like Alex can go and not vote for someone.
I was just gonna say Wes is a softie, and he'll go vote for everybody, and I'm gonna go vote for the 3 people who I actually want to hear talk.
It's all his own talks.
There are those people.
It's Alex, and Alex.
I grew up in Delaware, and my vote has never counted in my life, and now it counts. So I'm going to make it count.
There are going to be those people who are tracking every single person's vote already, and they're going to see.
I'd love to see the spreadsheet
bumped by like 1, and everyone else's session bumped by 1. They're like, "What the hell is the point of that?"
I want to see the spreadsheet. I'm sure somebody's out there building
it.
Yeah. Too much. So they got too much time on their hands. That's what that person's got.
So Wes, how many? Obviously, this is happening in roughly a month, 30 days in December. How many talks are we going to have at the big? Like, how many talks are you scheduling for the first one?
We can
what's your target?
Yeah,
we can support about 22 to 24 talks, somewhere right around there. So we're kind of. I really don't need any more talks. If someone's listening to and they're on the fence, how about wait till next year to submit? Because I'm already kind of full, and I like the ones that are in here, but I'm not going to stop you. So
that just means we have to talk now, Mindy.
That's right. Oh yeah, 100%. You guys aren't getting out of this.
Dang it! I tried.
We have more than you need. That's what I just heard.
I did have one person submit 17 talks.
I did. I saw that. Yeah, like I don't know.
And I went back to that person. Like, hey,
I really wanted you to pick me.
Yeah, and I'm like,
it's a raffle. The more times your name is in the pot, the more likely you're coming out.
Guys. It was 17.
Wow.
And it was just like one little paragraph on each one of them, right? It was,
yeah.
I'm going to talk about MSPs.
I went in and talked to that person. I'm like, the rules are only one talk. It's in the rules on the website. Only one talk per person, unless it's like a group thing. That's fine. So 17 is not okay. So we removed 16 of them out, and they had picked their one.
Wow, that is like just, I don't even know what I can talk about. That's 17 different topics. That's incredible. More power to them,
I feel like
Well-
they deserve their own conference.
right?
They were
All right.
actually all just going to be a sales pitch anyway.
Oh,
So they're
well,
your
then,
talks. You
never mind.
submitted 17 of them. Is that what it was?
Alex,
I told you it was me.
That's
And whatever I submitted, I wasn't actually going to talk about. I was just going to give you guys an empath sales pitch. Why you should come buy a license for every one of your MSPs.
Learn about MSPs. Did you know that Empath services MSP?
That's right. Learn about sales and marketing. Did you know that that Empath has a sales and marketing learning track? Done.
The letter A. Do you know that Empath knows what the letter A is?
And it contains a letter A. Did you know?
And Alex is f-bombing today on the on LinkedIn. Did you guys
I
see
may
his little
have.
rant today? That
May
was,
have dropped an F.
Mm.
you got to talk about what
I
happened.
haven't been
there.
on LinkedIn yet today.
There were a few
as,
F-bombs.
as a brand new YouTube partner, please keep the F bombs to yourself. So I don't want to get demonetized when we just got partnered.
we've already
Partners for
missed
like
it.
5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes demonetized. Like right off the
In
bat.
fairness, I did start that video with a not safe for work tag. I'm just saying.
Oh, well, that's nice of you.
It's going to be a rant, and I knew it.
There's at some point in time, I think we can just all mark LinkedIn as not safe for work in general.
It's going
Getting
that
there.
way.
We get a lot of sales pitches.
It's getting there.
That may be what I was talking about, but
You know
Oh,
what LinkedIn should do?
Do random messaging reach out, but like, hey, I have something for you. We should
Here's-
connect because
yes.
I feel like I can see something for you.
Here, and they pay. Here's what's not cool about it. They pay LinkedIn so that they can do those in mails to you, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, LinkedIn needs to start their own crypto. And then what they need to do is whenever someone does a LinkedIn in message to you and you receive it, you should get half of the crypto that comes with that sucker. It's only
Yeah.
fair. Like
you should get
if-
to see the price tag and say, "Oh, that's not enough. You better up your ante if you want to talk." You gotta set the price.
All right, look,
Yes.
this may be a radical suggestion, and I don't know the legalities of it. But how do we install you as the CEO of LinkedIn?
Doesn't Microsoft own LinkedIn?
That might be much more complicated than just LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We'll call it
Yeah.
Clippy Coin. Tell me who doesn't want Clippy Coin.
Oh my god! So that's
Does that
Could
already
be-
exist? That has to already exist.
it.
Who was
Probably.
it that
Let's go look.
messaged Clippy during the IT Nation? They were showing off Sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we should call it Clippy or something like that.
That is. Yeah.
There is a Clippy Coin already.
MSPGeek's mascot Goots was designed based off Clippy, and our desire for, because like when we were like Goots didn't exist in like digital form. Like he was our mascot, and he was a plump little goose meme. But he prior to our conference in May of this year, there was no design of him, and then as we're looking at putting out posters and stuff, I was sitting there, I was like, why don't we make him like Clippy, because we can put him in the front going, hey, the conference is over here. And that's exactly what they did. They designed him as
The Goots ambassador.
the Goots ambassador.
There it is.
There is a Clippy Coin. It's real. I mean, you can even see their Dex tools, which is like the Explorer for the coin. It's probably
Oh, it's Ethereum
so it's
based.
a $15,000 market cap. So we could go buy the whole thing out right now and take over Clippy Coin. Anyone else in?
I'm in.
I'm in.
Yeah, I
I'm going
got
to
20
donate it
bucks.
to the Rural Tech Fund, though.
I think Minesweeper actually works. Oh my goodness!
Oh.
Watch me play mine. I'm terrible at this game. Oh, it won't
We
even
can
let
tell.
Oh. You died. Of course, you're terrible. At it.
Pretty cool.
Maybe it
It
doesn't
actually
really work.
works. Look at that. I mean, yeah, you can't like redo it, but you can close it.
There are like you can browse Windows 95 in the desktop
Yeah, on a browser.
on a browser. Excuse me. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it.
And Windows 3. Like I was playing Jezebel the other day. Or Jezebel.
Wow, that freaking works way too well.
It does. Can't move the
That's crazy.
window. But
It's just a
doesn't it bring back warm memories just seeing like
Yeah.
Windows 95?
Ugh.
Oh, I love that screensaver.
yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
I used to sit there and watch it forever.
It's funny because my like the first
Just
memory I
download
get from Windows 98 SE edition is when I went to install an application and I was out of hard disk space for a 500 meg application.
Oh,
Uh,
well, there you go, Wes. Install a new operating system real quick. Where?
you can install Linux. It'll run for another 20 years.
All right. In case anyone's wondering and still watching, I don't know. Are we done with the rejection con topic at this point?
Say we're getting pretty close.
What are your future plans for Rejection Con? Are you going to wait and base it off of how this goes?
Great. Yeah, that's really it. I don't know. I mean, you guys know what the stress level is of, oh, look, it actually, that's cool. You guys know what the stress level is of running a conference more than anybody. So we're just going to kind of see how this thing goes. And if it crashes and burns and everyone makes fun of us, no, we won't do this again.
MSPGeek will pick it up. Don't worry.
All right. If it goes well, like I will say this.
We're not rooting for you to crash and burn.
Well, thank you. I will publicly say this. I would love to get this thing to a point where it does go well and we figure out exactly what the secret sauce is. And then I'd love to kind of turn it over to the hands of someone else to really run it. Because I am not an operational, as Alex knows, I'm just not good at these things. So I'm doing it because I have to, but I'd love to turn it over. So that's kind of my thoughts for the whole thing.
Yeah.
MSPGeek volunteers to accept that.
We volunteers tribute.
I think can we do a digital handshake right here?
Yeah, look, it's the core, the whole premise of reason behind it. Like there's a reason why I immediately went, yes, we'll help. We'll do whatever we need to.
And then I yelled at him for not getting more details, by the way.
He did.
But
well, it's probably because Wes won't talk to me. It's probably what he said. Because Wes is too busy buried.
He comes up with stupid ideas like this.
Right. And it's like the Rejection Con itself as an initial idea is a great, like, that's stuff MSPGeek is built for. That's the stuff we're trying to do. We want to foster that education and that growth of the MSP space, and it absolutely fits. And as someone who has been in charge of a single conference, which went off very successfully, I'm going to add that feather to my cap.
You're back 1,000.
I don't want to do the next one because I got a really high bar and I don't know if we'll be like, one of the greatest compliments we've gotten is the food you guys had was the best.
It was.
And because, like, for those who don't know, it wasn't even
in our control necessarily.
For those who don't know, generally hotel food is very mediocre, bland, tasteless, just because it's mass produced food, right?
And salmonella ridden.
Yeah, it was really good. And it's like I didn't even pick the menu. It was just kind of there. And like,
in fact, it was for the conference next door. And
probably, I don't know. No, was it Popeyes? There was a vendor there that would have been nice to have them sponsor. But it's just like, that was one of the immediate feedbacks we got was, man, your food's pretty good. And I'm like, really? That's interesting. And then I walk away because I'm suspicious because I've had hotel food.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you can get Chick-fil-A as a sponsor this year.
The problem is that the hotel doesn't allow outside food.
Oh
no,
that's the problem. And so, like, that's the biggest part. Like, one of our big compliments was how good the food was compared to other conferences. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, like, thank you, but it's not really our thing that we did. It's just something that came with the hotel.
Have those in New Orleans, and you're not going to have any problems with the food from just about any good hotel in New Orleans, because it's all good food.
But I mean, that goes back to, it was our first conference was very well received, and people felt that it wasn't a first year conference. I would like to shout out a volunteer team to help us put that together, who had experience in doing these, so we didn't do it all on alone. But stuff like this is the reason why we do what we do, and we slave away 9 o'clock at night, working with great people like you guys and pushing the MSP space forward, because it is absolutely critical. It is our mission. That is the only thing MSPGeek does, and whether an inch or an inch or a mile doesn't really necessarily work in the context of a rising tide raises all ships. I need to someone write that down to fix that for a water metaphor. So but if you guys don't want to do it, we'll find someone who will.
Well, there's a very good chance that we will not come back and ask me in a month.
It is not fun. Like the pain, the suffering, the emotional roller coasters, the difficult decisions, the constant
quite a
back
masochist.
and forth,
that's what I hear.
It's worth it. I will say, I standing up on the stage in the keynote and demonstrating MSPGeek and what we are and why we're doing this, and educating people was absolutely worth the pain and suffering. So I think you'll feel the same way once you start seeing the feedback come in. But it sucks initially.
What he's saying is we need to sign the deal right now before we start getting all the good feelings that come along with it.
I'll have my people
a
call
good
your people.
salesperson.
He's been to a few of my talks.
Yes.
Yes. I didn't listen to them. That's why I'm good.
True story. Go listen to my LinkedIn video today. I was talking about you.
I don't send linked mails. Don't even lump me into those people.
Until Clippy Coin. Then you're gonna get rich off Clippy Coin.
Right?
Yeah. To the moon.
Well, this is fun. I think it's interesting to hear the history behind both Empath and Wes yourself, your professor history.
Professor Spencer.
Professor Spencer. That's going to be your new name. And Rejection Con, and also the charity behind it. I think that's it's really good.
Very enlightening.
And
Thanks.
despite the jumping in with eyes closed, head first reaction Kyle had, I think
I knew it was gold as soon as I read it. He didn't even tell me. He typed it, and I was like, "We're in both feet."
That's funny because our Kyle kind of came on board the same way.
I mean, we're a hive mind. We all Kyles think alike. So, and to be honest, West is very gifted speaker. So he probably was just like, "Hey, Kyle," and then he's just, "I'm in." He signed all the documents.
That's probably what happened.
That's what happened with our Kyle. I was like, "Hey, you want to give up your really cushy, doesn't work very hard, makes a ton of money consulting gig, and come like have no money and be a startup for a couple of years, and it'll suck a whole lot." He's like, "Yeah, count me in."
That sounds like a Kyle move for sure.
And then he said, "What are we doing?"
Yeah, figure that out later. Please tell me we're doing a portal.
Good callback.
Yeah.
Triple factor authentication just to make everybody happy.
As we close, I'll just tell anyone listening today the ways you can help us. 1, go register for Rejection Con. 2, go tell your friends about Rejection Con and tell them the mission and the means behind it. You're doing good for the community. Go tell them to register. And 3, if you're a vendor and you want in on this, let me know, right? And send it out to your lists. I did a little thing with Jonathan Crow today. They're getting something out on their list, and Matt Solomon sending it out on their list. And so those things are helpful too, because there's so many people that just don't know about this thing. So those are the things that you can do to help that would really be meaningful to us.
And I'm going to add one more to that list. Like if you see your friends and your connections on LinkedIn out there posting that they're speaking or that they're involved in it, make sure and comment and lift those posts up a little bit too. Those guys are
for the algorithm.
They're putting it out there, and we need to help them raise awareness and get some visibility on it. So,
yep.
One of the key things I think with a virtual conference is there's no seat limits, so everyone is invited. I expect to see 7 billion people there. That's the goal.
Buy your mom a ticket.
Yeah,
goes to charity.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, on that note, I appreciate everyone for stopping by, having a fantastic discussion as always. And Alex, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Anyone needs anything? Wes is on LinkedIn. Empath is on LinkedIn. Alex, you already know is on LinkedIn. Bob, is there anywhere you have a YouTube channel where people could come find you? LinkedIn?
Nope, just LinkedIn. That's it for now.
Bob Miller, since his name's not there, its last name's Miller. Bob Miller.
Sorry.
Yep. Mindy is in like 8 different places, pretending to be 8 different people. So I'm sure you could, like, Rising Tide Consulting Group is something he's involved in. MSPGeek is something he's involved in. What other YouTube channels have you participated in that I don't know of?
None.
Liar. You can probably just find it. Just Google his name. It'd be great. On that note.